say that they do communicate and they do meet with them?
I trained for many, many, many years under qualified teachers of a certain religious order. I've interacted with Bigfoot with Native Americans, and it was really no different than meeting neighbors for them.
Really no different than meeting the neighbors. Are you ready to meet your neighbors? What lurks in the dark? What bangs on the trees in the forest? What hides in the crags of the rocks of your worst nightmares towering above you? Do you know what goes bump in the night? Do you want to know?
They didn't really seem, they weren't overly awed about it, and they weren't skeptical, which is very normal for them. And these were Native Americans who had been raised in their traditional manner, and it was just something very normal for them. I talked with some Native Americans who tell me that the Bigfoot come out during their ceremonies and sing. I've had other Native Americans tell me that they close their door at night because they're worried their daughters are going to be taken. And even like the little kids were like, "Oh, look at the big man."
Oh, look at the big man. The stories have persisted for generations upon generations, if not thousands of years, of our brethren, our sisters, our family in the forest and the jungles of the world, known as the rock apes, Oranpandak, to Slatban, and most commonly amongst us, Sasquatch or Bigfoot. These creatures of the unknown stalk all the dark places in the world, everywhere, whether it be the skunk ape in Florida and Louisiana's Ruhuguru. We have a friend, or a monster, living next door.
All of the Native Americans who talk to me about it, it's just a common, like, the Bigfoot are just a common thing that live in the forest. It's part of the sacred animals. You know, they consider the bear and the mountain lion sacred animals. And it just pretty much, they think of Bigfoot as a sacred being that is equal to humans. Very, very first time I saw a Bigfoot in the flesh, my brain was telling me it was a deer. It took me about 2 minutes for me to really accept in my own mind that I was seeing what I was seeing. And I think that's a common problem across all cultures when you see something fantastical in the flesh. I can say for myself, I definitely experienced a cathartic experience where I had to accept what my senses were telling me. And it wasn't easy.
Do you trust what your senses tell you? Do you know them to be true, or are you just trusting in what you know? How much of the world around you exists because you decide it is, and how much of it exists outside of your awareness? These things that act in mystic manners, that haunt the spaces in between, liminal and metaphysical. They carry the weight of hundreds, if not 1,000 pounds. They leave proof behind, and yet they are like the wind, unseen, heard, but never caught. Do you know the stories? Do you have one yourself? Are you ready to take the journey into the deepest, darkest jungles and forests of the world to find what remains of the monsters, both inside and out? Tonight, we seek this journey. The monsters inside, the monsters outside, and those we didn't even know we should be aware of. Because, my friends, as you well know, it's time.
But then I very quickly had to accept it because they stayed around for about a good 45 minutes afterwards the first time. One of them petted me in front of the family I was with. That was pretty cool and unexpected and humbling. There was one time where one of them jumped out of a tree and was wrestling with another Bigfoot over the food I left, and it was so loud and wild and vicious. It was a lot like a bull and a lion were shaking the forest. That was pretty intense. I was out in Vancouver area in the mountain ranges out there once, and about 20 of them came out, and with a little child who was in front of all of them, and he probably was like 2.5 feet high. And you know how children sometimes do those spazzy dances? You know, he was doing the same thing. Just kind of, acting like a little kid does, and just like a human. You know, a lot.
Just like a human. But is it human? Is it from another realm? Are we just seeing them because the light is playing tricks at that moment in time? Do we know where they come from at all? Well, the stories have persisted forever. These hairy, jungle, rock-bearing and throwing, stick-slamming monsters of the dark, who just evade us, who seem likely to be as congenial as we. They hide as we would from them. The natives here in North America called them many names, but mostly we know them as Sasquatch, the Bigfoot. An apt name for a size 43 shoe. A hand that could pulverize a human in a single squeeze. Some were said to be afraid of letting their daughters out because they might get run away with. Is this lore, or is this truth? Hello and good evening. I'm AronMSound, and this is the show known as Look Up, where I interject myself into a conversation that nobody wants me to be involved with, and by way of which I extend it into a place that nobody wants it to go. Tonight, I'm going to share the stories of monsters in the forest, and then monsters in our world. And after that, I will tell you the tale of a monster who may have taken his own wife. At least he says he released her to the forest. But that comes later. To start with this evening, I'd like to talk to you about something that is beyond lore. It is embedded in our being. Good evening, Lita. How you doing? My chat page is clearly not keeping up. There it is. Hey, boo to you! Do we know what's in the forest? Do you know what's behind your house? Do you know the things that creep up to your window at night? Have you looked out that window? Has it looked back? Whatever it is. Have you found a palm print on the sliding glass door? Were you up at the cabin late? And did you hear a howl unlike anything you had ever heard? Well, I would gather you may have experienced a bit of the monster on the outside. Could it be Sasquatch? Is it something unknown? Is it a werewolf? Is it a skinwalker? Or is it just a bear? Either way, do you know what lurks just beyond your acknowledgement? Trippy, good evening. Apparently, Bigfoot lives. Truth. As I have looked into the tales very deeply for the past week to bring you what I could find in the most quantifiable fashion as usual. Now, I want you to understand that this is not something we should take lightly. These are an unknown species, unregistered and unfound, and yet, all the way back, almost 5,000 years, we have records that show that we are not alone, that we have a giant amongst us. Now, these giants have many names. Do you know them? I have become familiar with them. It starts with the stone giants, not too dissimilar than the term rock ape, except it is said that these stone giants were named so because of the armor they wore, capable of removing this armor like a pelt, like a deer does its antlers, to be shaken off and lost. Now, was this a mistaken identity? Did someone see something and misunderstand? Or did they actually see a 16-foot tall, hairy beast drop its armor of stone? Now, I don't know if you know this, but in the 1970s, it was reported by American GIs in Vietnam and Laos that they were attacked repeatedly in their bases by large, rock-throwing, hairy humans. These were later to be known as the rock ape. Now, you can find these stories alongside orang pendek, the Asian Bigfoot, or Yeti, but what is specific to the rock ape is the want to commit to its own territories and protect itself and others like it. Now, the GIs reported firing many shots and not being able to take it down, and others at point-blank range firing .30-06, only to have the monster throw their gun and break it. Now, it should be known that the interactions between the GIs and these monsters from the jungle were more human than you would like to admit, because it seemed that the rock apes were trying to communicate as they would arrive angry, shaking their fists, growling, and murmuring, attempting to let the GIs know they had broken a boundary. Now, I would ask you, do you know if the monsters are intelligent? Are they smarter than us? Would you know? Would you be able to handle it at all, or would you run? Or would you stand in fear and fright, shaken to your core, every muscle about you holding tight and firm, not letting you run away? Have you even thought of these things? I suggest you ponder for your own safety, because the next time you reach into the woods, step by step, you might have someone with you, unbeknownst to you. They are giants, after all, silent as the wind.
Times I've called them and they weren't too happy to see me, so at this point I kind of can tell where they sort of live. So there was one time
I don't, but I should put that on my list. Thank you for being
living,
here. I will definitely do so.
Exceedingly not pleased that I was there. Not violent, just much like I would feel about somebody going in my yard and ruining my evening when I was...
Are we in their yard? Or are they in ours? What do we know of their existence, since we've never found anything other than footprints, hair, and the sounds of their banging against the trees? There are reports, many of them, of single person and multiple person eyewitnesses. But do we know these to be true? As far as we know, these are the machinations of an imaginative mind, right? Or in fact, are we hearing the first-person results of experience? I challenge you to consider that this is all absolutely true. There is no suspension of disbelief when you can find them yourself.
Having dinner. It is a huge, huge, huge leap of belief to think that there is a 900-pound, 9-foot, super muscled tribe of beings living in Western New York, and no one has found a camp, no one's found a house, no one's found tools. Now that, I interact with them and I know the reason for that. And it all goes together once you're able to accept some very traditionally basic concepts that native cultures throughout the world have utilized. And that basic concept would be that there are many, many, many realities happening all at once. And that there's a very easy way that a lot of native cultures have trained their people to interact.
There are many, many realities happening all at once. Are you aware of the onion-like existence that we go through? Or are you living in a single plane? Are you even capable of seeing the other side? And if you did, how would you respond? Would you run in fear? Would you be paralyzed? Would you know what you were seeing, or would your mind tell you it's not real? I would be concerned for you if you were to choose the latter, because it might be something would reach out and grab you. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
The beings of those realities, and to actually sometimes go to those realities. The case in point would be a lot of the Viking myths and stories of what the world is. I know for a fact Dayak shamans teach this very same method. Even the peacekeeper of the Iroquois has taught these methods. They're right out in the open. And if people just looked at what traditional cultures have done and go talk to the people still teaching those things, this ability is open to everyone. But you actually have to walk through the training. You know, it's right there everywhere you go, anytime you see a forest. The answer.
Anytime you see a forest, it's right there. You just have to walk the training. And what is that? Is that a suspension of disbelief? Is that a belief in fantasy? Or is it the sense that there is more? Is it a context to the rest of reality? Have you put yourself in line with all that is to see what is possible? Finding your way through the veils. Did you know that there were such a thing? And how far would you go to find this massive creature? Would you spend your waking hours searching? Would you know where to look? Some do.
Like a download in which, in a flash, a lot of information comes into view, and it's like wandering into a landscape. It takes a long time to understand what this is all about. I immediately began to open up the history books at the Buffalo Historical Society Library and read about tumuli and standing stones, mounds and ditches. And it wasn't long before I read many articles about giant skeletons exhumed from the mounds and skulls.
We've got a lot of profile of a lot of places, other places that tend to pick up lots of folklore. We're rugged, we're hilly, we got creeks, lots of undeveloped land. We've had a Native American presence here, very strong.
Life in Western New York, it's pretty broad spectrum. And what I mean by that is there's a fairly large presence of the native people. The Haudenosaunee would hold up their hand and they go, on the eastern part of New York is the Mohawk, that's the eastern door. And next to them is Oneida. As you're heading west, in the middle is Onondaga, and then Cayuga, and
Seneca. And next to them, the Great Lakes. Now it is reported in this entirety of the area that there are standing stones and burial mounds, many of which have never been disturbed. Trippy, that is a good call, because it is only going to get weirder as we go along. And just for you, we'll make it really weird. What? Oh. Hi. Oh. Along the shores of the Great Lakes, for hundreds if not thousands of years, giants roamed. if you're not aware of these stories, know that the natives of the area speak about it as commonly as you would your family dog. These stories of the caretakers, of the stone throwers, of the giants, who are like us, and some of which still exist to this day. But what's important to know is that many of these burial grounds were unearthed. And as the archaeologists said, they found giant bones inside. Now, the ones that have not been taken up are protected by First Nations cultures. And they speak of these mounds belonging to the giants. And as far as we know, they are telling the truth. So let's acknowledge the fact that there be giants near the lakes.
Seneca. So on the either end, eastern door, keepers of the eastern door are Mohawk. Keepers of the western door are Seneca.
We have the 6 nations that were up here. They've all, been through this whole region for hundreds of years. And they actually talk about a people before them, which are the mound builders. We're not too far from a location called Lilydale, which is in Cassadaga. And I believe in like 1884, some earthworks were dug up. And actually it's in the Chautauqua County history that 10, 11, and 12-foot skeletons had been found near Cassadaga Lake. They were, dug up, and whatever happened to them, I don't know, but it's very intriguing that, the natives, the 6 nations, actually talk about these things, of the people before them, the giant.
The giant, the people before them, the bones that disappeared strangely. Well, why would they go away? Where would they go? And who would take them? Why would something so important to human history just simply disappear? Could it be that someone doesn't want us to know our connections to the otherworldly? Could it be that these things were never meant for us to see? These are questions we cannot answer. We can only ponder and hypothetically question. But I would pose that there is definitely something someone doesn't want you to see, much less believe. Now, could it be for our own good? Would it be for our own good to not know what lurks in the depths of the forest? Those monsters 15 foot tall, walking upright, capable of standing still for purportedly 10 to 15 minutes in front of us with a light shining on them. Still as a post. Why is it that small lights and ethereal feelings are reported before observation of the hairy beast? Are they connected? Is the ether involved? Are they from the world of Wendigo? Once again, these are questions we cannot answer. We can only ponder and hear what our forefathers and mothers told us. Stay out of the forest in the dark. If I were you, I would heed that.
Well, one actually found in Conewango that was excavated by our Chautauqua County doctor at the time, our Surgeon General or whatever you call it. He did the excavation and he found a 9-foot skeleton, 7-foot skeleton. This whole area is just kind of mystic, I guess, is the best way I can put it.
Mounds that stretch down Main Street from, well, we would say Buffalo, Forest Lawn, to at least Clarence and beyond. Probably
one area, kept sniffing this one area, and it was really close to my driveway. Finally, I walk over and I'm looking at, and it was an impression in the frozen grass. And the more I got to looking at it, the more it looked like a footprint. It looked like something had walked along the driveway and then just put 1 foot off onto the grass. I went and I decided to cast it with Great Stuff foam, and then I later went in and I got casting material. It really shows a really great print of a Bigfoot track.
How close do we get to them? Do our pets know before we do? And would they alert you or would they run away? Would you be as calm as she is if you were to find a 24-inch footprint 1.5 meters from your doorstep? How relaxed would you feel to know that this animal was somewhere on your property? Have you already had this happen? Are you afraid of having it happen? You should protect yourself. Unfortunately, there is little way to do that with a 1,000-pound, 15-foot creature who apparently can appear at will.
I've had a lot of wood knocks in 2018, 19, and 20 across the street, more across the street down by the creek area. In December of 2018, I was hearing what I thought was 2 men yelling at each other across behind my house in the field. It sounded like one man was yelling to another man way up in the pasture. They were yelling to each other back and forth, back and forth. The farmer who passed away, he would just randomly, it could be 2:30 in the afternoon or 6 o'clock at night. Usually it was like 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. You just hear a random shotgun go off, once or maybe twice. And then soon after that, you saw him, he put up floodlights all the way around his house, motion lights. So I'm quite sure that he was seeing stuff, that things were coming up around his farm, barn areas or his house.
What would make a farmer put floodlights around his property and fire off his shotgun on a regular basis? I would gather he was having incursions of some large animal. Now, if it was related to the footprint cast, as she believed, what could it have been looking for? Was it more than one? Were they trying to get into his house? And would they want to eat him? We may never know. But what we do know is that these animals, they are thinking, they're aware, they are stealthy, and they have capabilities we don't understand. Would a shotgun bother them if a 30-06 did not? Yes, Trippy, I too believe they were thinking canned food.
This area, but he was keeping them away with shotgun. There's days my horses will stay right in the barnyard area, right by the gate, all day, all night. They won't even come up in the pasture and eat. They wouldn't even come across to this pasture at all for about a year and a half. They wouldn't even come here. They would come over for about 10 or 15 minutes, eat, and then all of a sudden one would pick its head up and look, and they usually would look up in the back area. And then all of a sudden they'd all take off and go back across to the other pasture.
Now, it has been sighted at Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch and the areas surrounding those basins in Utah and Nevada, that when horses and cows and other animals sense the opening of a metaphysical portal, what is possibly a holographic passage from here to another universe, the animals become frightened. They can feel the disturbance. They can hear the terror in reality. Now, this ponderance, this hypothetical, is the commonality observed just before Sasquatch is witnessed. Is it that it comes from the realm of Wendigo? The amber vibration, the realm of the little people, the Fae, and of those who walk in the skins of those they imagine? Or are they just simply hidden in the forest? Wouldn't you like to know? I'd rather leave it a mystery, lest a large hand grasp my shoulder.
And then go down by the barn. So there's definitely days where I know there's something around because they sense it and they're afraid, and they'll stay right by the barn area. There's a lot of times I'll bring them into their stalls. The horse stalls that are in the back of the barn have windows. They all have windows. Every stall has a window. But the stalls on the back of the barn, the horses that are in those stalls will come in and they'll be eating their grain, and then they stop eating and they go over to the window and they look out the window towards the back of my barn, going up into the pasture, and with their ears pricked up because they're looking or hearing something. I also have an Australian cattle dog, and he senses something odd. I don't know if it's this infrasound that people talk about, but when they're around, that dog will be like 3 inches right behind my leg.
What does infrasound have to do with this at all?
His ears are pricked up and he acts like he's fretting, you know?
Well, it's not just a vocal attunement or tool of the blue and sperm whale. No. It does not belong to the creatures of the ocean solely, but rather most of the large, predaceous animals on planet Earth are given the skill of infrasonics, that there are subharmonics and overtones meant to disturb the minds of their prey, to interrupt their neurological patterns, so that they may not run too fast or think too quickly. And to add to it, when a lion roars, you feel it in your spine. When a bear stands on its hindquarters and growls, you feel it in your heart because of the infrasonics. Now, that said, what exactly are the possibilities of a metaphysical creature who is one with nature, unseen by man unless it allows us to find it. What exactly can it do with its vocal range? I dare not wish to know.
And I had one incident, my dog came out with me and he put his head way low to the patio and his ears were pricked up and he was looking straight up this pasture and he just let out this huge growl. And I remember looking up in the pasture and there was something up in that tree line, all black, looking down at the patio at me. So I know that they're around. I know that they just kind of stay hidden, you know, and except for the one I saw walking across the street.
They just kind of stay hidden. Unless, of course, you happen to catch one in a fleeting moment. These reports are worldwide and repeated. They are constant. And common to the point where the rules are said to be that you get one UFO or one Bigfoot. Now, what does it mean that I've seen both? More than once. Ask yourself that. The forest giant. Yes, true. Trippy. There are many different incarnations. Like I said before, whether it be the Oran Pendak or the rock ape or the mountain men of Saskatchewan or the Yeti or Bigfoot or the skunk ape, or there's a name for every locality, and it seems that they adapt to wherever they are. Some, like the Orang Pendak, are small, but thick like a fire plug. And some are just gigantic, like those we would know to be Sasquatch. Now, what makes them different? Could be the environment. And we do see this with animals across the planet, including ourselves. And why don't we find them? They don't want to be found, is what it really sounds like.
So I stopped, I stood there, and there must have been 3 of them. Because when I looked over there, the 2, they looked like they just shivered. And all down their body, it was like everybody says it was a predator, but it wasn't that shiny, but you could still see it from the moonlight. And then there was another one
I will
there,
definitely do that.
I don't know if he was a younger
that sounds
one,
great.
or the next year's juvenile. It took him a little bit to do it, and then you could still see him, just like he shivered, and it just all went. I could still see them. I couldn't actually see them like I could see you. They were all like cloaked, but I could only see them in the moonlight. And then I don't know if they knew that I could see them, because then just a little bit further up in the woods, another tree broke, and I looked over there, and then when I looked back, they were gone.
You can see the fear in his eyes. A grown man, experienced in the woods. A person who's grown up First Nations. Experienced living on a reservation. He knows what's in the forest. You can see in his eyes the memory coming back to him of what he saw. It doesn't look as pleasant as he speaks.
So it was pretty amazing to see that, especially with other natives. And first thing you ask, anything strange happen to you? And, of course, everybody's seen Bigfoot. At least somewhere, somebody has a story. Some people don't believe you at all. Some people don't think you're crazy, you know. And they say it's our brother of the forest. You leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. So that's one of those catch-22 phrases, I guess, you know.
This was in March. I get a call from
But
my
will
mom
they
who
leave
lived
you
in
alone
Maine.
is the question.
And she
Just because
was awoken. She went to the bathroom in the middle of the night. It was about
believe
2 in the morning or so.
that
And she went
they'll
across
leave you
the
alone.
hall to her bathroom and came back across the hall. When she looked down the hall
Doesn't
towards her
guarantee
dining
that
room,
to be
her
the
dining room
truth.
has a big sliding glass door, and he was putting his hands all over the glass trying to figure out how to get in. So I came up with my pickup truck and I drove it right around the back of her place with my headlights. You couldn't see anything. I went in and she was sitting at the table and she was just, her face was like gray. She said he had a hood on and he just kept putting his hands all over the glass. And I said, but Mom,
Except that wasn't
if
a
it's
hood.
a man, he's just gonna put his hand on the handle and open the door. Thank God it was locked. And she goes, I don't know. She goes, but it heard you come up with the truck. She said it turned like this. And she said it took one step back and it just took 2 or 3 steps, and it was right off her patio and went right down the ravine and was gone. She said it was so tall it had to bend over her overhang, and I don't know, I have never measured her overhang by the patio, but it's got to be at least 8 foot tall.
It's got to be at least 8 feet tall.
Had a story and
something just killed my dog.
something killed your dog?
My dog went flying through the air over the tree. I don't know how it did it.
Okay.
By the way, just like to shout out the last. Let me clear that out. That was from The Man Beast of Western New York, a fantastic documentary on Whispering Hollow here on YouTube. It's a documentary made by Whispering Hollow called The Man Beast of Western New York. Absolutely fantastic details with a lot of first-person accounts. There's lots of stuff that I would have liked to share. There's stuff that sounds a lot like the Rougarou and many other interesting native stories, as well as, once again, first-hand accounts. So I highly advise and urge you to check out on Whispering Hollow, that's the name of the channel, The Man Beast of Western New York. But now, I'd like to tell you a little more about rock apes. This is from a channel called Squatch Mafia. Make sure to like and subscribe. Support creators.
The rainforests of Asia harbor many stories of strange encounters. 1,000 miles north of Malaysia, deep in the jungles of Laos, exists what many believe is a relative of America's legendary Bigfoot. The year was 1966. America's at war with Vietnam. For the first time ever, U.S. soldiers are faced with full-scale jungle warfare. As military missions take forces deep into the heart of the Indo-Chinese forest, extraordinary stories begin to filter back from the field. Stories about encounters with strange creatures.
Imagine you're 18 years old. It's the 1970s. You've lived your life in an urban bliss. You drive your relatively fancy car into the parking lot and park and join your fellow friends as you head towards boot camp. You are trained to use your weapon. You are trained to exercise and be strong. You are trained to dig holes and trenches. You're trained to pitch your tent. You're trained to seek out the enemy. But did they tell you all of the enemies you might see? Many of our GIs in Vietnam and other battles, but specifically this one, over and over faced cryptids, unknown beasts, and specifically, in this case, massive entities known as the rock apes, who also stood in their way and caused them to take up arms.
As a young soldier in Vietnam in 1969, veteran Tom Jacobs was often sent on reconnaissance missions into the thick jungle. One day, though, he witnessed something he will never forget.
We really didn't know what it was. It sounded like North Vietnamese were attacking us with tanks.
A band of large primates began throwing rocks at his platoon.
I had heard that there had been previous problems with what we called rock apes. And in fact, at one point, a band of them threw one Marine off the rock pile.
Do you believe a military veteran still serving? Do you believe someone who is trained as an observer? Sagittal crest. I'll have to look that up. I'm not familiar with that term, Trippy. I love new terms. The producer was trying to take the chair again. Would you be so calm if you were to run into a man-hating ape in the jungle on your tour of duty? That is the shape. Oh, sagittal crest. Ah, very cool. I didn't know that term. That's about, maybe I heard that in passing, but I didn't register it. Wow, very cool. I was pulling up the Googles. Very interesting. Like the Yeti. There is a Yeti skull kept by the lamas in Tibet, high in the mountains of the Himalayas. And occasionally, for special events, they bring this skull that they claim is from the abominable snowman, the Yeti, and they let one of the young priests wear it in a parade. This is a sign of reverence for this very rare creature that they hold dear, as they believe that these are the ancestors from the great Monkey King and gods. And some of these llamas are much older than they would have you believe, because the air and life is different up there. Now, credibility is a factor when we tell these stories, when we hear them, when we see them for ourselves, and when we see the responses of those who were there. And in this case, credibility is high. We're talking about a soldier, a trained observer, in uniform, recounting an experience from the battlefield.
And so we were wary of them, without a doubt.
What Sergeant Jacobs had seen may have been any one of a number of primate species which inhabit the Indo-Chinese forest. But several times, he says, they came face to face with a creature that was entirely different.
This animal was stockier. He was of darker color, a lot more muscular. This different creature would, early in the morning, burst out of the jungle into a clearing and just rail at us, just yell and scream and shake his fists. And it was very human behavior, and it was real obvious that he took exception to our presence there.
During the Vietnam War, it wasn't only American soldiers who had run-ins with what appeared to be a type of Bigfoot. On the North Vietnamese side, there were also bizarre reports of a strange creature attacking soldiers in the jungle. One of Vietnam's most respected biologists, Professor Vo Quy, was called in to investigate.
Professor Vo Quy is a very amazing individual. He is one of the very few humans who has ever found and quantified the bones, hairs, and footprint, all in his museum. And he's known to have tracked down the areas where these creatures live. Now, is he going to share that with you? Unlikely. It's a secret, after all. Not to mention, they might eat you.
When I go there, many people of this area, the tribal people, told me a lot of history about the white man and make me thinking about this species. Maybe this white man exists in the tropical area, like Vietnam or in Laos. I asked my friend, he's a soldier working in the forest in Laos, and he told me that he saw with his binocular big animals.
The oddest tale he encountered involved American GIs who allegedly captured an ape-man from the region.
A helicopter come from the base in the high mountain and bring something strange, a monkey, a big monkey, and stay in the airport 1 hour and then...
Of those reports, people at the airport, other GIs, the pilots, many eyewitnesses to the fact that a large, oversized ape, humanoid, was picked up and taken to the regional airport. It was then transported to the United States. And how do we know this? Because it wasn't long before that body was on display for an entire year. You see, somebody made a profit off the fact that they killed a rock ape. Now, what it took to actually take this beast down, we don't know. Was it metaphysical? Was it just sheer force? Was it already dead? These are the unanswered questions. What we do know is that somebody did profit from the tour.
Have consistently pointed to the source of this bizarre creature as Indochina. The strongest link yet. Iceman promoter Frank Hansen had been a fighter pilot during the Vietnam War. His unit was stationed in Da Nang at the same time as GIs claim they saw an ape-man being airlifted out of town. Could the answer to this mystery lie in the thick jungles of Indochina? But the mystery doesn't end there. 9,000 miles away in Chico, California, around 1967, an unusual carnival display begins to draw crowds. Called the Minnesota Iceman, This creature created such a commotion that Belgian zoologist Bernard Hubelmans examined the specimen. He came to the conclusion it was a new species and gave it a name, Homo pongoides. But after its whirlwind tour around the country, the corpse disappeared and was never seen again.
Was it a hoax? Or was it the body reported transported from Laos to the United States? I think we know. We in this nation sure do love a good show. And if it wasn't real, well then I hate to quote a certain famous promoter, but he was right. A sucker is born every minute. Nowadays, possibly faster. But I would lend credence to the words of the GIs and the soldiers who likely killed a monster that was attacking them and chose to take it back home and show people what it was. Now, where exactly did this go? Where did this animal end up? We can only guess a repository somewhere in some freezer in the basement of a government lab. Or maybe in someone's home freezer. Or maybe it was just a monkey suit in an ice cap. We will never know. But isn't that awesome? All of these ideas and experiences culminate in a matter of lore. Lore that we instinctually carry with us. It's as if it's built into our genealogy. Whatever our great-great-great ancestors spoke to our great-great-great-grandparents. As myth and lore, it sticks with us. It holds tight to warn us of making improper deals, plans, behaviors. We can call them fables, exhibits, examples, but are they more? Are they warnings of what was? Are they actual examples of the beasts and the monsters that come from within and without? These are the questions we ask in watching what some would call a children's cartoon. And I would say, waiting. It's a bit of a horror show.
Of Darkmoon Forest. Strange things had been seen deep in the secret heart of Darkmoon Forest, and tales were told of the evil presence that lurked there.
Do you know the story? Can you remember the name? Have you been warned to not make deals? Did you know that before the devil, there was a little man who came from nowhere, with no age, no home, and if you didn't know it for yourself, no
It was
name.
harvest time in the valley, a time when, according to tradition, the king would lead a procession of thanksgiving through the town. The day was hot and the road was dusty. And it happened that the king, to quench his thirst, stopped at the house of the miller. Now the miller was a man who sometimes stretched the truth. No one could deny his delight in, shall we say, exaggeration.
Why, before I became a miller, I was with the royal court. A most important person, too. As a matter of fact, I could have been a knight. I could have been a dragon slayer. I could have been
Do you tell stories? Are they stories meant to excite? Or are they fibs and lies? Are they exaggerations or are they truth? Beware what you share. Stand by what you say and do. Don't exploit, but express. And most importantly, tell the truth. Because often, the truth is wonderful and more exciting than the trouble a lie can get you into.
Dragon Slayer? Indeed. Retired, I'll wager. We could have used you at the wars. However, since we were robbed of your strong arm, could you now use it to pour an ale for your thirsty king?
This brew doesn't honor your majesty. Please, try some of my wine.
Fit for a king, no doubt. Your own vintage?
Of course. My daughter will bring you a bottle. Daughter, wine for the king.
Would you know if you were being had? If you were caught for your lie? Or are you so practiced at telling the lie that you don't know when you're had? Is your lie a matter of truth? Because the truth would be worse than a lie. Or are you just looking for more attention? Because if so, I would say beware what you offer in exchange unknowingly.
Ah, my daughter. Not only is she lovely, but truly skilled with all crafts.
Indeed.
Indeed, your majesty. Why, she weaves the finest cloaks from thistledown. She charms birds from the trees with her sweet voice. She dances in the moonlight with nymphs. She can even spin gold from humble straw.
How far would you go to make a point? How much would you wager to win? How much of a lie and your credibility would you put on the line comparative to what is provable, founded? Who else would you put in the way of your bad example? It's something one should consider if one is going to hyperbole or postulate wildly.
My dear Dragon Slayer, I am anxious to meet this paragon of virtue.
Your Majesty, my daughter.
The king was entranced by the young girl's beauty, much to the miller's satisfaction.
So, this is the spinner of gold.
As I live and breathe, Your Majesty.
Oh, Father.
Very well, then. Your daughter shall come to the castle and spin some gold. But if she can't, we shall see if you continue to live and breathe.
How quickly will the jig be up? Would you trade your life for another? Specifically when you've put them in the way of fire. Would you put someone else in the way of you to keep out of trouble? Would you even know that you had done so unless they told you? These moral and ethical questions of options come into play in many, many interactions. And I would say sometimes the dire outcomes, the spiraling, fractaling responses of an omniversal pattern carried by inflection of ourselves trillions of times over, notching slight changes in existence based off of ramifications of choice. They give us a sense of free will. But how much will do you have to save yourself from terrible choices you've made?
That evening, the miller's daughter was given a room high in the castle's tower. If she failed to turn straw into gold, the father would surely suffer for his boasts.
We will see spools of gold in the morning, my dear dragon slayer.
As the desolate hour of midnight struck, poor miller's daughter sank deeper into despair.
If you were left to hang for someone else's bad decisions, would you attempt to cover for them? Or would you sink into a darkness? Would you opt to run away? Would you confront the situation head on despite the lack of options? Or would you merely shut down, hiding next to your spool, worrying about what could be? I can tell you personally, I would always choose to figure out how to spin gold rather than put anyone else in harm's way, even if it's not my fault. At that moment, the ethics are that I have the weights in my hand, and in this case, the option is limited to hay and gold.
Her only comfort, companionship, a little dove.
Oh, little one, what am I to do? My father will surely be punished.
When suddenly,
So, the king is playing a game with you and your father.
Who are you?
That is my secret. I've come here to help you. You need know nothing more. What will you get?
Now, if someone comes from nowhere and offers you a solution, but they wish to remain anonymous, do you take their gift? Is it too true to be good? Too good to be true? Or is it your last best option. Is it the devil offering you a deal? Is it Legba willing to make an exchange for fair terms at the crossroads? Is it Ra willing to extend eternal life to you for the life of another? Or is it a little man from nowhere with no name willing to take your burden on and fix your problem? What would you choose? Would the outcome be yes? No? Or would you even know? Don't be paralyzed. Fear gets you eaten.
Need to turn this straw into gold, my dear.
I have very little. Would you take this?
That'll do. For now.
Now, my storytelling friend, we shall see the value of your words. Perhaps you can enslave dragons as well. You're lucky to have such a talented and beautiful daughter.
Does your defensive position for those who would otherwise do you wrong set you up for a greater fail? Or, in fact, does it support your position as worthy? Is your worthiness wasted on those who would take advantage of you? Do you know if you were being taken advantage of by a monster who didn't look like one? Do you know if the monsters are close and what shapes they take? I pose that most of us don't know the real monsters, that they come from the darkness, that they come from close by, that they are near us at all times, breathing down the back of our necks. They see into the depths of our brains, into our souls, into our psyches, and they know what makes our heart beat faster. They can taste our pulse. They know and feed off our fear. Are you afraid? Don't be afraid. They can smell it.
Yes, Your Majesty. Why, she can spin even more than this. Twice as much with no trouble at all.
If that's what it will take to keep her near me for one more night. So be it then, Miller. She will be given twice as much straw for her task this evening. Now let's be gone and let her rest. I'm astounded you're not a wealthier man by virtue of your daughter's talent at spinning.
Truly, sire, I have never been a greedy man.
How much would somebody make off of your back How far would they take the sham and the position they've put you in? How deep would they let you get into the hole of usury before they cut you free down into the pit? What large, hairy monster could possibly do this? Is it, in fact, a hairy monster? Or is it someone you recognize? Is it someone you're familiar with? Is it someone you trust? Is that the dangerous creature next to you, sleeping beside you, thinking thoughts you can't possibly imagine? Is it someone who is supposed to care for you, but seeks something more? Will they let you drop to that bottomless pit to fall forever? Or are they as foolish as those who would take the defensive position for valor's sake?
It's a nice night, a nice black night. It's my night, a nice black night for worms and bats and snakes and rats. It's my night, a nice black night. It's a grand night, a very nice night for slugs and murk and mire and ooze. And my dears, a very nice night for me. A very nice night for me.
The king's duties took him away from his castle, but his thoughts kept returning to the miller's lovely daughter.
Can the position that you've put yourself in defensive manner, for valor's sake, leave you high and dry in a state of Stockholm Syndrome so that you might even admire your captor? Would you be stuck in that position and lost in your thought? Would you know that you are there? Would you have the Barclayan trouble of knowing what was real and what was not real from inside and outside an enclosed space? Could you imagine at all being in the captive position on behalf of someone else who sought to take advantage of your will? And if you didn't succeed in defending them, likely you wouldn't exist any longer. How's that for valor?
Oh, little dove, am I only a spinner of gold to my king?
Hopelessly, the miller's daughter waited in the locked tower room. By the spinning wheel sat an even larger pile of straw. The kingdom lay silent in sleep. Outside the tower room, the guard felt the touch of an icy wing.
How much of a trade would you make? Would you continue to trade on for your own safety? Would you have anything left after that? What would you offer when you had nothing? Is it worth it? What is worth the valor of defending someone who left you defenseless. Would you even know?
At dawn, a harassing little music shot light for the guard. The king and the miller arrived. In those missing hours, the heaps of straw had been matched, spun into gold.
Sire, I've done your bidding once more. And now I would like to leave.
Your Grace, forgive my daughter. She is tired and her voice gets ahead of her mind.
Do not upset yourself, Dragon Slayer. Many of us chatter on like empty-headed magpies.
Your Majesty, the suggestion that my thoughts are of little use to anyone upsets me. Because you listen to my father's boasts and you hope to ridicule him. You locked me up in your castle tower for 2 days and nights, turning straw into gold. Is the treasure house so empty that the miller's daughter must fill it?
At the end of your time, what would it take to break the proverbial straw on the camel's back? Would you speak truth to power? Would you be honest about the position? Would you stand up against those who would harm you, even though they're those you love? Or would you stay silent? Would you challenge the entire scenario? Or would you coddle yourself from the fray? Think about who you are and what you would choose, because I know some are sure when they shouldn't be.
Your Majesty, if your coffers need to be filled, my daughter would happily spend twice as much again tonight.
I accept your offer, if you will accept mine. I offer you my love, my heart, and the throne of Queen, if you will marry me.
We accept!
Father, I will consider your offer of marriage very carefully.
On the third night, the miller's daughter could barely find the spinning wheel. The entire floor was covered with straw.
A final night of turning straw into gold.
When everything is put to test, and you are now the captive of your own choices, what do you trade to save your soul? Is it your soul yourself? Or is it the soul of another? Is that even something you can trade? I believe you know, as well as I do, the truth to that is yes.
But I have nothing.
As the hours of darkness fled by, the mysterious little man transformed the heaps of straw into spools of golden thread with magical speed.
Well, the job is done. Now to discuss the price.
But I tried to tell you, I have nothing left to give you.
But you will have. You and the king are to be wed. You will bear him a child. And that child I will take.
No, wait, please.
There was joy and celebration throughout the kingdom when the miller's daughter and the king were joined in marriage.
There was joy throughout the kingdom. Think about that. The entirety of the celebration surrounding an infernal match. One meant to bestow a child on a demon who had no name. His trade gold for trinket, and gold then for life. Is this an example? One we can find in our own lives? I'd say yes. I'd say every day someone is offering you an infernal trade. One that challenges your ethic and morals. One that challenges your memory. Because it's important not to forget the little deals you make. They may catch up to you in the long run. When you are comfortable, when you are warm, when you are loved, and you cannot remember that moment you were captive because it is long, long forgotten.
When love has touched your heart, do you voyage to enchanted isles? No man can ever talk. It's on a shiver, with sails free for you. Strong wind behind you, your lifeline ahead. Fairy tales can come, baby, fairy tales can come. But time drew me on as I followed the days. My world seemed to change in so many ways. I held on to my dreams and I waited for you. Fairy tales can come, baby, fairy tales can come. Fairy tales can come.
The queen shared her pride in the new baby with the whole kingdom. Memories of the mysterious little man began to haunt her. When royal duties called the king to a distant land, the queen's fears grew. In his absence, she watched over the child, day and night.
Good evening, Your Highness. I've come for my payment. I will take the baby now.
You can't have my child. I never agreed.
Except, would you remember that you had made an agreement with a tiny demon who had spun gold for you so that you could defend someone who wouldn't defend you? Would you pay up the price that you had already bartered? Would you remember that you owed that price? And would your valor and your word and your morality, well, would it support you when you handed over your firstborn? Metaphorically speaking, of course. Or maybe not. Would you know what to do? True. Trippy, true. Certain trades were likely had. Which trade would you make? Seems easier said than done, right?
He'll be king one day.
A debt is a debt, madam. Besides, he will be king in my world.
I'll fight you with everything I have.
There is but one weapon to defeat me. My name, Your Majesty. Call me by my true name. But that's an incantation you'll never have.
Now, why would a name be so powerful as to be able to undo a demon in this realm? Is it because it is unknown to begin with? Is it because it owns that demon? Or is it because it nullifies the space the demon exists in? Is it just metaphor? Or are these lessons we should be paying attention to that are nuance hidden within the larger frame of fantasy? The fable is true enough. Why would the metaphysics be any less true? Consider the options.
I challenge you then. Give me but 3 days to guess your name.
Very well, Your Majesty. I do enjoy a good game. 3 days from now at sunset, you must know my name.
The evil little man's laughter chilled the Queen's blood. She had but 3 days to learn his name. A game, he called it. A game.
Now, what would you do? How fast would you run? Would you stay in place and send others out? Would you use the full power of your kingdom?
A name that would destroy the demon. A name that would save.
Would you tell anyone at all?
At dusk, the names were presented to the Queen. And a strange little man appeared. She read them. But none was right, and he gloated and laughed over her failure. As precious time slipped away, the wise men and scholars of the court searched through ancient books of magic, dusty scrolls and records of forgotten times. Their efforts proved useless, and that made the vile little man even more confident, and at day's end the castle echoed with his evil laughter.
How long would you go on for? Would you have the energy or the strength to fight back against a demon, even one that you had conjured for yourself, by defending someone who is in an indefensible position, simply because you expected or were expected to love them or care for them? How deep in the hole would you let yourself go? Do you know if you're falling and following Alice? Has the rabbit passed by? Do you know what time it is? I gather not.
As the sun rose on the final day of the desperate game, the Queen's men ventured into the most remote regions of the kingdom. They saw many strange things, encountered great dangers, but nowhere did they find a single new name to help the Queen.
Our last day and still no success. Take heart, though. I, the great Dragon Slayer, will go forth and do battle once more. I swear to you, I'll find out what old what's-his-name is called.
Would you trust the delusions of others, knowing that their story is a fabrication, despite their energy and interest? Would you believe in them? Good evening, Songwang. How are you? Good to see you again, and welcome back. The name of this cartoon is Rumplestilstskin, 1985. It's on the channel known as Priceless. That's priceless, but with one S. Good evening, and welcome, and happy Hollow Spooks and Scary Eve to you. Halloween is next week, but we're prepping the way. Hopefully, we can bring you some chills or some unexpected late-night thoughts of haunts. Either way, we are challenging the senses this evening. We started with Bigfoot, and now we're talking about the monsters around us, the morals and the fables we take for granted, the things we might otherwise dismiss as fantasy, yet that leave a trace of truth. Thank you, Lita. And I'd like to shout out to my colleague, Court, and most definitely unofficial but very official co-host and producer, Lita Caproni, for bringing Rumplestilstskin to us. Thank you very much.
Even if I have to ask him in person. I'll take the fastest horse. I'll gather the finest warriors. I'll raise an army of men.
The sun rode low in the sky as the miller set forth towards the mysterious place where evil lurked, Darkmoor Forest. As he pressed on, he remembered every tale of the horrors that haunted the forest gloom. He thought of the beasts.
Would you be brave enough?
Power, horse and rider. Then, in the distance, a strange glow.
Would you trust the bravery of someone who had already shown themselves to be weak?
His heart pounding in fear, the miller crept closer.
It's a fine night, a very fine night for lizards. It's a fine night, a very fine night for slime. And on a night like this, how could Rumplestilstskin be anything but fine? Rumplestilstskin, that's me.
Would you recognize the incantation if you heard it? Would you know the demon's name if it was uttered? Could you stand still enough in the darkness to hear it whispered? Knowing everything depends on you. He did. He said the name. Would you write it down? Or would you just run away, thinking you'd remember it? How much valor do you have? How much strength? How much courage? Could you win the demon's game?
That's it. Rumplestiltskin. Fly, little one, to the queen. Turn and face the dragon slayer, you villain. Your ugly game is over.
So much for the dragon slayer.
Would you have the weaponry to defeat the demon you created and called forth through your actions? Cheers and good evening, Tank. How are you feeling? We're getting spooky this evening with a tale starts in Bigfoot and the rock apes of Vietnam. And now we're into the demons and creatures from within and without, those we know and those we do not. And soon, we'll head towards the creatures we should be aware of that we probably weren't.
Approaches. I mustn't keep the queen waiting.
Are you the hawk?
First shadows of
or are you the dove?
Over the castle. When
a young prince for Rumplestilstskin.
Glad to see you're home safe. Would you crawl yourself out of a hole?
Behind locked doors and guarded by armed soldiers.
And could you make it out? After your fight with the demon.
Your time is up.
But wait.
My
the sun
pleasure,
has not
Dave.
set.
It will. Tell me my
Oh,
name
thank you
now,
very much, Inverted
or the
Reality.
child is
Appreciate it.
mine.
Don't come near me.
I've got it. I know the demon's name. His name is Rumplestilstskin.
Would you be able to remember the name in the moment? Could you incant the magic spell? Would you be able to say the name over the demon's shrill laugh.
The game is over and you have lost.
Huh?
Rumplestilstskin.
That's it, Rumplestilstskin. Oops.
It's up to you to win the game against the demons. It's up to you to avoid the pratfalls brought on by those around us. It's up to you to make the decisions that keep yourself
The king, the queen,
and your
their
loved
young
ones
prince ruled the land for many years. And the kingdom
from
lived
falling down the endless well.
As for the miller, he never did
The lies we
tell
tell
a tale.
may lead us into hell itself to face the demons of our own making.
Stinky Rumple. Oh, I'm sure you remember his
But
name.
one thing is for sure, we should always remember the demon could be named Rumplestilstskin. But these are the demons we know. What about the demons you don't? What about the monsters that lurk right in front of you? Somewhere nearby that you just didn't know existed? What may seem innocuous to some is rather insidious to others. And that's why I bring us the story
You stinky Frenchman, frog you.
of the
That being said,
disappearance
it's a
of
cheese
Mama
that I really
JF.
love. It is the original orange cheddar. Now people are saying, Jeff, why don't you share with Mama Jeff? Well, do you want some?
No, because we went to his mother's house and after I drank so much this morning and then I feel like, oh my god.
Okay, you feel like, oh my god. So you see, she doesn't want to
And
eat.
also I eat only cheese since 2 days, only cheese. Because Jeff gave me so, why you give me so much cheese, Jeff? You're like a Neil deGrasse Tyson. Is it like a blood for
No, you cannot accuse.
Well, Trippy, as far as I've heard so far and read, she's missing. And I'll take us into the story of what we know so far. Because I don't want to assume anything bad has happened to Mama JF. But as we can all presume, she may not have had the wherewithal that some do to survive in the wilderness where she was left by her husband in June and then reported missing at the end of September. These are just a piece of the story.
Those celebrities here of rape. This is the public
Why?
space.
There's so much
No, you cannot defame anyone.
Yes,
This
Trippy.
is what took place. These are the kinds of
Hey,
people.
maybe
I hope that she's definitely living it
Is
up
that Mama Jaya? I thought I heard something.
with a forest giant. I hope for the best.
Anyhow.
I had to mute Mama Jeff because she was telling some mean things about No White Guilt. I apologize. Everyone who's a fan of the show knows that Mama Jeff has an uncontrollable and irrational hate of No White Guilt, and we don't hate her for it. It's just a brain spark that she has where she construes No White Guilt as someone else.
Now, I say what I say with hesitation because I don't want to have you believe in any way, shape, or form that what I'm saying is a vote of confidence or support for what these people stand for. On the contrary, they are hate incarnate, in my opinion. This is a realm of the alt-right that involves itself in eugenics. The person on the right that you're looking at, JF, as he's known, was a scientist who did surgery on the brains of monkeys to study disease and motor functions, and to learn thought process. And amongst his many storied accolades, I guess you could call them, was being funded by the one and only Jeffrey Epstein to start his YouTube channel and his research. He mentions it in another video I'll share. What's important to note is that Mama JF has been missing, unheard from, not on cell phone since June. She was left at a gas station by JF. That's on film. And not heard from by her friends, his friends, or the streaming public since then. And the question remains, is she okay?
Right, Lawrence Forbes says, does Mama Jeff really have an issue with no white guilt, or is she just fooling around? She has an actual issue.
I need to...
Don't say anything violent.
No, I won't.
What do you have to say?
No, I get seriously. You tried to kill me, okay? And I'm fucking sick that you're fucking me with me. You always follow me everywhere. And and you say you want to make spiritual movement, but you fucking sick that you're fucking me with me. You always follow me everywhere. And there's...
Don't say anything violent.
No, I won't.
What do you have to say?
No, I get seriously. You tried to kill me, okay? And I'm fucking sick that you're fucking me with me. You always follow me everywhere. And and you say you want to make spiritual movement, but you fucking tried to kill me for 3 years, okay? You're a fucking psychopath, man.
Okay, so the answer to the super chat is that Mama JF mistakes no white guilt for someone who has committed acts of violence.
Why would she mistake him for somebody who committed acts of violence? Who was the person who committed the acts of violence? Why is she having an interpolative problem? What is she actually speaking about? Are we watching an aphasiatic reference, meaning that she can't properly put into context what it is that she's experiencing, so she says it in a third or second person, framing it as if it's associated to the person she's speaking to, seeking help from, rather than who she's speaking about. I can only question and look at the film and ask the questions that come to my head about the situation, because I feel like we've seen something similar to this before. In the Dahlia and Dia case.
Against her. So that's why you see her currently sad. Mama JF has been the victim of an act of violence. This was not by no white guilt at all. She is confused, and because she is confused, she associates no white guilt with... People are asking on the regular chat, is Mama JF okay? Yes, she is doing good. I don't know if she wants to come to say hi, but she is doing good. So no worries for Mama JF.
Hey,
hello.
Hey, I just want to say, no, I will never accept your apologies, okay? What you did to me was so mean. And this guy is not a real person. He's doing shape-shifting. And he's a ghost. Don't believe him. He's not...
What does she mean by this guy's not a real person? He's shape-shifting. Is she actually talking about no white guilt? And why does she seem confused at best?
A real person.
Okay.
And you want to kill me.
Okay. So no white guilt is a ghost, according to Mama JF. I will say as a
His
journalist,
wife.
I have a duty here not to allow defamation. And I will say that
He had a child
the
with her.
theory that no white guilt is a shape-shifting ghost is unsupported at the moment, in my view. All right, we have a question for Mama JF coming on the super chat.
A shape-shifting ghost.
K. Max McDonald says,
Yep.
Mama JF, what is your background? What country do you derive your ethnic heritage from?
I can answer that. Before, I had a bad life, but then after I discovered GF, then I started to look at GF every day. I was always looking at GF. I became crazy. I lost everything I had. I lost my job, my family. I quit school. I lost everything. Every day I was always looking at GF. I became crazy. I lost everything I had. I lost my job, my family. I quit school. I lost everything. I was just looking at GF all the time, all crazy. And then after I wrote to him, I said, GF, I want to take you. And then he told me. And that's my background.
You
all crazy. And then after I wrote to him, I said, GF, I want to take you. And then he told me. And that's my background.
You lost your job because you were addicted.
I lost everything.
You lost everything because you were addicted to my shows.
Yeah, I was just looking at your show all the time. Even I had a job, and I was going.
At what level does fanaticism override the sensibility? At what level does a person without cognitive skills become dateable? And what levels do you set for those things? Yeah. Do you see the red flags, Trippy? Or do you ignore them?
To hide in the bathroom to listen to your show, and then my boss said, "Why you always disappear for 10 minutes?" Then he fired me. I lost everything, my family, my friends, everything, because I was just looking at GF show all the time. For 10 minutes. Then he fired me. I lost everything, my family, my friends, everything, because I was just looking at GF show all the time. Disappeared for 10 minutes. Then he fired me. I lost everything, my family, my friends, everything, because I was just looking at GF show all the time.
You've never told me that.
Yeah.
Wow. That is some dedicated fan right here.
Would you still call your wife a dedicated fan after you've already had a child with her? And you care for her other child?
That has anything to do with me being on the show. I do 4 days a week plus not the flat earth thing. That is how the agreement was. That is.
See, Steve McRae was interested in the flat earth, which is very naive and beautiful. Hello, Mama Jeff. Oh, you took your shower?
Yeah, but sleeping.
Yeah, so...
ALO-AIU.
Oh, yeah. She's a big fan of AIU.
Hey, I just wanted to say, it's so nice what you do, but I don't know why you're atheist.
Yeah, why are you an atheist, AIU?
Yeah, what? Yo, hey, me, I believe in God, like. Do you know how I did that?
How did you reach a belief in God?
It's because before I met GF, I was smoking a lot of weed, and after sometimes God started to talk to me in my head. It's real.
I think that atheism is on
Weed, and after sometimes God started to talk to me in my head.
How did you reach a belief in God?
It's because before I met GF, I was smoking a lot of weed, and after sometimes God started to talk to me in my head. It's real.
I think that atheism is unstoppable will not be convinced by this argument. All right.
You stinky Frenchman, frog you.
Now this all seems quite humorous. This all seems very upbeat. But now I'm going to turn the page, and I give all credence and thanks to Tom Dark for his work and heavy lifting on the video I'm about to share with you. Because the details of the disappearance, well, they're had online by those who would happen to follow this person. And I'm not following this person for certain.
This was exposed. In JF's own words, he convinced her to leave her family and join him in North Carolina, and then after 3 weeks of being with her, a girl that had never lived on her own, worked a job, lived apart from her parents, been in a relationship, he convinced her to try to have a child with him. 2 independent psychiatrists evaluated this girl. The first said that she had the social and mental skills of a 10 to 11-year-old child.
W,
And the second
Turkey
one said
Tom.
that she wasn't fit to make the decision.
Like, he literally is really into girls who are, like, mentally disabled.
That is skills of a relationship. He convinced her to try to have a child with him. And then after 3 weeks of being with her, a girl that had never lived on her own, worked a job, lived apart from her parents, been in a relationship, he convinced her to try to have a child with him. 2 independent psychiatrists evaluated this girl. The first said that she had the social and mental skills of a 10 to 11-year-old child, and the second one said that she wasn't fit to make the decision.
Like, he literally is really into girls who are, like, mentally disabled.
That is insanely
like a pattern.
inappropriate for a 32-year-old guy to do that to a 19-year-old girl.
That's called love, you idiot.
Eggs. All right, Nick, the Oreo. Let's have a call, buddy.
He said it was
Give me a
called
sauce.
love. What kind of love is it? When the person can't make their own decisions for themselves and are likely unaware of what's really going on. What does it take to get someone's father involved, to bring the court in, to stop a relationship?
Nicholas the Oreo, how's it going?
You idiot. Hello.
It's called love. It's called love, Nicholas.
Dude, this guy has been around for years.
Well, back in the
I
day,
made
you did a video about JF.
In 2019, all right? In 2019, back when some of the articles were coming out. Dude, he is so interesting. Do you know he was a professor at Duke University and he got fired for fucking a student or something?
He got fired, and then I think they changed the rule book based on what he did because he was having an inappropriate relationship with a grad student, which wasn't explicitly outlawed under the university law or whatever.
Dude.
What point do we judge a person's morality at? How do we give them grace or suspension of disbelief in their valor if their behaviors don't change? Just like anti-Semitism's behavior.
He used to do brain surgery on fucking monkeys.
So he is like smart. Like he is kind of smart in some. Like he is
I
like
have his
a
book.
scientist. You have his book.
Yeah, I have the legendary phenotype. I own his book.
Isn't that like the racist book?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't read a word of it.
It's too much.
It's above me. Yeah, I think so.
Does he
I
still
haven't
have a
tried,
YouTube
but
channel?
No, he's banned.
He's banned.
He got hit in the big like far right demonetization wave that took out a few YouTubers, like back when Richard Spencer got hit. I think he got demonetized with Fuentes, and then I think they took him out around the time the conspiracy channels got banned. Yeah,
But this
he was
woman he's
Andy's
with,
co-host.
this woman he's with is like, hold on, I'm just gonna pull this up on.
Oh, it's very
screen share
important to
so you
note
can
these
see.
are two different women.
Yeah,
there is
yeah.
no information that the second woman is. But I mean,
we can watch
she's
the videos.
Just French.
We
yeah.
can watch the videos.
She's not just French.
It's charming with champagne on ice, but you stinky.
Mama JF, well, do you want some?
No, because we went to his mother's house and after I drank
We've
so much
seen
this
this.
morning and
Oh, well, I think she might be deaf, and like that's why.
Dude, if you can find it, when she talks to a YouTuber with the name of No White Guilt, that is the clip.
Okay.
It's Mama JF and No White Guilt.
No White Guilt. Isn't that one of Sam Hyde's top donators? NoWhiteGuilt.org.
It might be.
Mama
Now,
JF's bizarrely
notice
claimed
that
No White
all
Guilt
of
is
these
shapeshifting
people-
ghost. Is that what this is?
Maybe. I might just give you a timestamp or something because unfortunately,
Are
this
more
is
than
one of the
just
cases where I'm
alt
glad I made this
right.
video in
They are
2019,
white
because when his channel was
nationalists.
deleted, a lot of this was lost.
They
like,
believe in
forever. You want
eugenics.
me to look for the clip where Medicare finds out for the first time that JF was?
Yes.
I have that clip, and I don't think anyone else in the YouTube does. Wait, not a real person?
She's saying No
Dude,
White Guilt
she's
is
the
a
original.
ghost.
Dude, she's the original plain girl.
Dude, do you remember the part where, okay, there's some lore where she like locks JF in the basement for like a day?
You are not coming out of the basement. Yeah,
like
I
she
have that
got
one.
like I think
To
she's
say
on
the
stream and he's
least,
like in the basement like knocking.
the
or something.
relationship was
schizophrenic?
likely
Unfortunately,
fairly
now,
unhealthy.
It appears the tables have turned.
Okay, before we get into that, before we get into the murder rumors, we need to explain a little more lore. This girl is missing. This girl is missing, from what I know. And he made. There's this clip of him talking about it. He did a deep clean and renovation of his house like the day after she went missing and like ran away.
Oh, I found it.
Hold on here.
Okay.
Here's a clip of him talking about what happened when she disappeared. Let's just have a look at this.
What matters in life, what matters most of life, and so what can I do? I cannot hate her. I cannot not be frustrated about this, and that's it. So that's why I had to take 3 days total to. I made so much cleaning, so much.
I couldn't
Wait, pause for 1 second.
He made for so much cleaning. He does look like Smash Mouth, Songwang. Yes, yes. I just saw you. Yeah, I just saw your comment. Yes, he does look like Smash Mouth. Somebody to tell me that. Oh, sorry. Anyway. He did a lot of cleaning. He makes mass adjustments to the house, including replacing the walls. What would make someone do that if they weren't trying to hide something or doing something extreme? I could only imagine that it would take a level of OCD that was unheard of. But I don't know the man. I don't know the situation. All I know is what's being said and what we hear. And I can't assume to know anything or presume anyone is guilty because I'm not a judge or a jury. I can come up with ideas and opinions. I can editorialize all day. But what I cannot do is locate Mama JF. So we can only speculate on what we're seeing.
A huge piece of context. The audio you're listening to is referencing events that happened in June. She was reported missing, not by JF, like this weekend. She's been gone for like
months.
3 or 4 months.
Three months. We'll get generous. 3 months. Gone.
Jesus.
And this is him talking about remodeling his house.
Much reinstalling, so much plastering of the walls, construction, renovation.
Plastering the
I wanted
walls.
to set the home in the way I like it.
Set the home in the way. Okay, he seems like he's being weird. Does he not seem like he's being weird?
It's like sterilized this home.
It's sterilized. He said he uses the
What
word
did she do?
sterilized.
Lick them?
He uses the word
Why
sterilized.
would you
Sterilize this home
need
now.
to
I can
sterilize?
walk finally. I can
What does that mean, I can
access
walk?
everything. The fridge is
Was it like a
super
pig
clean.
Did she poop on the floor?
It matters in life.
I mean, that would probably
Well,
turn
have you
him
ever
on, to
seen
be
the,
honest.
like, the picture of her naked riding a bike in public?
I've seen the videos of her
actually
when like
saying?
she like is like painting 14
Sterilize his
walls,
house.
Like, and then she's like saying like,
Why
Dale
would you
Richards'
need
best
to do
friend.
that?
Dude, look at what I just sent you. That is lost media. Nobody has
For
that.
some
Francois Gariepi.
reason, and I don't even know why, Jeff started tweeting stuff that to me was not fun anymore about my past love relationships and about anything he could find to
This is
smear
a
me.
picture of him in like a lab, by the way. Would you ever consider doing random tier charts on stream? I think it would be interesting to hear your opinion on random stuff. Yeah, maybe. Thanks for the follow.
Based on that story that I told him I told
we
him
could do a
about
commentary
on the
tier list,
drunken
didn't we?
peasant. And from that I considered that Jeff was engaging in Twitter abuse and I've blocked him.
He's talking about Jeff
That's pretty
Holiday, by
much
the
my
way.
story.
Okay, can I, since this is WWE, let me drop a shoulder from the top ropes. Jeff did respond with bringing something up. I have no idea what it is, but Jeff, I'd like your take on it since it's out there in the public spectrum, or in the public arena. Jeff, I'm paraphrasing because the tweet's deleted, but you said essentially JF is the guy that had to have the state intervene because he was too busy. What the f is that about?
Dude, look at Andy. Look at Andy, bro.
Look at his face. Dude, do you remember the clip when like he's talking to Destiny? He's like, how?
When you can shock a white nationalist who makes up their own slang for a slang derogatory term, you've achieved something on a low level. What they're talking about is the 19-year-old who didn't have the cognitive ability to be allowed to have children and then marry JF, who essentially was doing this to stay in the United States. Not apparently because he loved her, but rather that it would keep him here due to the child. That's
How,
what
like,
it appears.
was she?
In my opinion.
That's this clip.
Wait, keep playing.
So are you asking Jeff or me?
I'm asking you because I don't know any of this backstory, and I want to get your take on what. What's big out there?
Oh, well, when maybe a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago, I fell in love with a woman who was mentally retarded.
Oh, yo, stop.
By the way, you didn't tell your audience this, but after
In love with a woman who was mentally retarded.
What's big out there?
Oh, well, when maybe a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago, I fell in love with a woman who was mentally retarded.
Oh, yo, stop.
By the way, you didn't tell your audience this, but after he was fired from Duke, he was getting deported back to Canada. So the only way he'd be, like, theoretically able to stay in the country is if he had ties here through, like, family stuff.
And the tie would be marriage to this girl.
And get a kid, pop a kid out as fast as possible so Papa JF doesn't have to go back up north.
But I thought people thought it was like a breeding thing where he was like, because of the eugenics, it's kind of fetishistic for him, so he likes to impregnate them.
But no, he's a eugenicist who believes in a white ethno-state, Tom. He thinks people should have blonde hair, blue eyes, and that's like...
Then why is he with mentally disabled people, knocking them up?
Dude, that's what I was saying in chat. Who's more hypocritical? JF, who wants to create a perfect society?
Why would a person who believes in eugenics and white nationalism repeatedly seek out those whose cognitive difficulties make them less likely to be an equal partner? We can only speculate. But I see, personally, the darkest behaviors of man in taking advantage or seeking out those who can't comprehend the world around them. How dark does your soul have to be? How controlling? How marred by evil? Cyrax, how you doing? Oh, I've been building my house. I've been doing the background for the next 5 days because there's just so much. I just wanted to make sure my shows were more succinct, more together, more informed, and I also wanted to just work out the tech and get a lot of stuff done on the house, and my schedule was out of control this week, so I appreciate you welcoming me back. I appreciate being here. It's always good to be online, and the show, I know, is a little different right now, but we'll get back to the fun times after Halloween. Until then, we'll be looking at all the spooks and scares, and this evening, I'll just recap. We started with Bigfoot and the rock apes and the things that go bump in the dark, and those monsters on the outside that are mythical and mystical. And then we went to the monsters that we create for ourselves, both internally and externally, of those we love and those we know. And then, and now, we are at the monsters that we are unaware of, that are closer to us than we would probably be comfortable with. And in this case, we're talking about the disappearance of Mama JF, the wife who seems to have cognitive dysfunction of a white nationalist alt-right streamer who has a background in dissection. Where did Mama JF go? Last we saw her, JF, the streamer, left her at a gas station where she could be seen under the cameras. That gas station was a good 4 hours from their home.
Potatoes, or Hassan Piker, who's a socialist living in a mansion with a sports car. Realistically, they're two sides of the same coin.
Brittany Venti in chat says, "Wait, is his wife still
Terrible
missing?"
take.
I heard
that
his
is a
wife
terrible
was found
take
today or something, but the thumbnail was a picture of her
Disavow.
edited to have like scars all over her face.
Wake
I don't
the fuck up,
know.
grow up,
She's-
kid.
It was like she's just camping. I don't know if that was real though. Wendigoon, the answer is allegedly he killed his wife. Okay, this I just need to.
Did you see the other picture?
Allegedly
Wait,
is
can you pull up
correct.
the picture of like the cow bones I sent you?
Okay, so he tweets out, what is the date on this tweet? 11th of April. Okay, this is in fairness before she went missing, so this would be...
Yeah, you mentioned that, Cyrax.
He says, to celebrate Bitcoin
Saturday,
rising to 30K and the leftist seething
come
my
on
replies
in,
to responsive
and,
facts about women,
tomorrow
we have
night.
slaughtered a cow. Here are all the
Come tell us
bones
some
from the cow.
stories.
Mama
I
J
would
has
love to hear
prepared to
'em.
boil these in order to extract all of their delicious nutrients. Are we looking at her corpse in this picture?
Dude, like an eyeball just rolled.
Are these too many bones?
Dude, would you put it past?
They're
All their
laughing.
delicious nutrients. Seething my replies to responsive facts about
But-
women, we have slaughtered a cow. Here are all the
This is before people thought she was gone.
He says, to celebrate Bitcoin rising to 30K and the leftists seething in my replies in response to facts about women, we have slaughtered a cow.
That's
Here
in
are all the
April.
bones
So
from
that's
the cow.
before she
Mama JF
disappeared.
is preparing to boil these in order to extract all of their delicious nutrients. Are we looking at her corpse in this picture?
Dude, like an eyeball just rolled.
Are these too many bones?
Dude, would you put it past JF to murder his wife and put all the body parts on his kitchen countertop?
No, he would want to research them. He would definitely want to research them.
Dude, apparently he gets woken up every morning by feds.
Yeah, no. This guy was a monkey doctor? Yeah, at Duke. He was a monkey doctor.
She had autism.
And he got a grant from Jeffrey Epstein.
And,
Do we have a clip of him talking about...
I can pull it up. It's in my video, though. I don't know where Raw is.
If I just look up Jeffrey...
Once again, this is from the Tom Dark channel, aka Turkey Tom.
So the context I have...
Doing all the heavy lifting for me this evening.
But the context that I have here is... So there was a BuzzFeed article that said this. JF Garipe was a postdoctoral researcher in neuroscience at Duke University in 2014, when his nonprofit, Neuro.tv, received $25,000 from Jeffrey Epstein in order to make a series of YouTube interviews with experts in psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy. The project is still, not anymore, the website has since been taken down, but you can find it on Wayback Machine. The project is the lead item on the dormant website of the Jeffrey Epstein Foundation.
He admitted
website.
to this too, though.
What kind of associations would you need to have to end up being funded by Jeffrey Epstein in 2015? The questions abound in this situation. How does one connect the two? Yeah, love the Toms. Tomfoolery, Tom Dark, Tom and Jerry. I Tomfoolery. If you haven't seen I Tomfoolery, I accidentally ended up there typing in Tomfoolery one day and had an I accidentally there. Go check it out. It's hilarious that it's I Tomfoolery. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. But I will share coming up. There will be an evening next week, probably, just to lighten the load. I Tomfoolery, it's hilarious. The fact that it's so close, it's hilarious.
Anyways. As well, like on video.
Yeah. On the left side, you see Richard Spencer.
True.
And on the right, JF, who's about to make an outrageous statement. Pay very close attention.
Did you watch my yesterday show, Richard?
I didn't, I'm sorry.
Okay, because I announced that I just for transparency, because I was talking about a news item about Jeff Epstein, and I announced that Jeff Epstein has once contributed to the start of my YouTube channel with a
Look at his reaction.
$25,000
Look at his reaction,
and
his eyes.
Since then, my
His
YouTube
eyes
channel
are so
has kind of
crazy.
taken a different direction.
Look at Richard's reaction. It's so fucking funny. It's so good, bro. Dude, this is why I love the internet. Where else will we find this guy? We would never hear about this guy.
By the way, so the guy on the right is JF. The guy on the left taught me a new slur for black people. Look how surprised that
He's
guy
shocked.
is. The guy on the right.
Scandalized. They were like, JF is an agent of a Jewish millionaire. And as I
He's that person.
Genevieve, hey,
No, I'm
what's
not joking.
happening?
This
Welcome
is
on
real.
in. So glad you could join.
You zoom a little ahead.
I'm not joking. This is real.
Right there.
No, I'm not joking. This is real.
We've been talking about and sharing the monsters outside, the monsters within and without, and then the monsters we were unaware of. Specifically, the disappearance of Mama JF. If you're not familiar with the story, we're talking about a white nationalist whose cognitively disabled wife, or apparently cognitively disabled wife, disappeared or was dropped off at a gas station in June and was reported missing just last month. The explanations are varied and odd, to say the least.
Jeff Epstein was a founder to one of my nonprofits
Good to see
in
you, by
the
the way,
US
Genevieve.
with a $25,000 check in 2015, I believe.
Very apparently, yes.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
That could have been a reaction meme.
Wow.
With a $25,000 check.
It very
in
well might, yes,
2015, I
indeed.
believe.
Wow. This is the Jeffrey Epstein who has like a island or something, and
Yeah,
is it
yeah.
Clinton.
Well, at the
backer?
time, he had not been found guilty, I believe, of this.
It's almost too much for Richard. It was 2019 was a different time, Tom. You used to. Oh, that was the slur. It showed the slur under it. We didn't get that far, but the O slur.
We had to get out of there. We get the idea, though, obviously.
Tom, do you know what the O slur means? You're like the slur guy.
Yes, it's the 1/8. It's like the drop
1/8, dude. Somebody made a slur for 1/8 black, and the guy who uses that word was that surprised at JF.
Yeah.
Her father disagreed with her choice to live with me, to become my fiance.
This is a different woman than Mama GF, by the way. This is a different mentally disabled.
This is the
to have a
last
baby. So we lived together a few months. And
I gotta
since her
say,
father was
the
disagreeing
lack
with
of
our
empathy
relationship,
from the
he intervened by
from the
doing
youngsters
what we call
is,
in the United States a ex
quite
parte
appalling,
probate
by the way.
hearing, which is a judiciary hearing in which you are found to be mentally incapable of making decisions as an adult in your absence.
Oh my god.
So
How old was she?
she was 19 years old.
Okay, so she was an adult.
She had decided to leave her parents and to live with me, and she had decided to start a family with me. She was found in this proceeding that violates the United States Constitution in her absence to have no rights, and her father violently kidnapped her.
True, Genevieve, over desensitization,
It's unconstitutional. to support
disenfranchisement.
anyone Determine if she's too disabled to function.
So the story is that JF tried to stay in the country by hooking up or falling in love with a 19-year-old who was developmentally disabled, and her father had to intervene with the courts to stop them from getting married and having children, specifically getting together to have children.
He's saying the father kidnapped her.
Against her will. All right, this is the
her
best
after
part. This is the best
and is still detaining her, and it was against her will. She was screaming, and she was just took.
Who's this JF guy? He seems wise. He's special, Teddy. Thanks for the 10.
Jesus, that's so sad, man.
That's so sad.
Yeah, autism, like how bad was the autism?
Yo! Jesus, Anthony.
I'm just saying, like, imagine you're like, no, Dad, that's good.
How bad
What should have said? Here's this heartbreaking story. So how was she?
No, I'm just saying because you're saying like that she was trying to explain to everyone like I don't want to go, right? But what level like
Yeah,
you hit
his
when
whole
the government's like no,
his whole
sorry,
thing
you
was
can't do that.
about eugenics. So
Well, when
it's
the person is in front of
very
the policeman,
odd,
and
very
the policeman was
strange,
not involved in her
compulsive, or
kidnapping, the
controlling.
policeman came weeks before, and he's asking her, "Are you happy here?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm super happy. Please leave me alone. We're having a fantastic life, and it's okay that you guys care, but I'm okay. I'm doing good, and I'm happy."
I'm
if she
happy.
can state
I am
this,
happy.
and without any sort of
I am
pressure,
happy with JF.
why would you take that person away?
And that's my point. And hey, Jim, that's why I asked that question. Everyone's like, "Holy."
Thank God Worski's able to defend his honor.
That's about all
As I
this
know,
one's
it's
worth.
still-
There's not really anything else.
That was
in here.
great. But okay.
It is
so we got that out of the
actually,
way.
Genevieve, great point. That's exploitation under the ADA. Disabled people have the same rights as others, but if a parent does request, the court can intervene on the family's behalf. And, as we've seen, they can basically give an adult or the adult's rights over to somebody else. And in this case, that's what they did, because the court found that she was not cognitively capable enough to do the things that she was trying to do. And it's shocking, though, that a scientist at Duke University, the parents must have established a conservatorship. Absolutely, that's what they would have had to do. But it's disturbing that a scientist at Duke University, who should have had the ethical basis, if not the morality, to recognize that was an inappropriate set of plans, much less relationship, in my point of view. If in fact it is the way it was described.
Actually, do we have more of the Mama JF stuff? Because there's stuff of her like running around in public.
The problem is, it's like even when I made the video, and I probably can go
True
back on my old
weirdo.
computer if I haven't deleted all the
Yes.
files. In 2019, it was hard to track down some of this stuff. The no white guilt stuff, I think, is right there. Goes wait up. It's the one in the green shirt. I'm known for my green shirts. It's the fourth one on that
Okay,
screen.
Mama JF goes full
That's
R
no
word.
white guilt. Yeah.
Does Mama Jeff really have an issue with no white guilt, or is she just fooling around? She has an actual issue.
I need to.
He tries to mute her for a second.
Don't say anything violent.
No, I want to.
What do you have to say?
No, I get seriously. You tried to kill me again,
Okay.
and I'm
Is she saying he tried to kill her?
No white guilt tried to kill her, apparently.
fucking sick that you're.
See, I don't believe that she's talking about no white guilt.
Me everywhere. And
I think that she's trying to
and
tell
you say
the
you want to make
camera
spiritual movement, but
some
you
experience
fucking
she's
tried to kill
having.
me for
It seems to me, and I was noticing this before, that she's having the same kind of cognitive issue that we were seeing with Dahlia in the bathtub, talking about something that she couldn't describe properly. So she didn't know how to phrase it or frame it so that it made sense. And JF actually says it coming up here, where he says she's been the victim of violence, and she's mistaking No White Guilt as the person who committed the violence. Something happened to her for certain.
Okay. All right, pause 1 second. I just want to stress, this is not the girl who was found to be retarded by a judge of her peers.
Being said, if there was a court of her peers, I think they may find that.
Well, the online court of public...
The court of public opinion is certainly decided.
That's the girl who's currently missing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to the other girl?
The other girl was...
She was just taken back by her
probably
parents,
saved
right?
Yeah, she was probably saved from a...
No, but, okay, so the answer to the super chat is that Mama JF mistakes No White Guilt for someone who has committed acts of violence against her. So that's why you...
Thanks for the 10, Chrisick.
They are currently sad.
Both his wives are mentally disabled. Okay, this one is not confirmed mentally disabled. The other one, which was not his wife but his girlfriend, who he was trying to knock up so he could stay in the States, she was mentally disabled, undoubtedly.
Listen, I just saw Ralph just tweeted, new unreleased JF court docs implicate him with a third mentally disabled woman. So I don't know.
Did you release
man's
the
got
docs?
apparently Ralph is going to release tonight, like, court documents proving that he's bedded a third person who is disabled. So that is a type, you know, I guess.
The victim of an act of violence. It was not by No White Guilt at all. She is confused, and because she is confused, she associates No White Guilt with...
Wendigo, and the one on screen is the one that's missing. Yeah.
Why would she be confused at all? What is really going on with this person? If she doesn't have or didn't have cognitive issues, why does she seem like she does now? It's quite curious for somebody who's doing brain surgery on monkeys at Duke University, of all places. Don't forget, Duke University did hold some of the work done by MKUltra. Genevieve says that she has an extensive professional experience of working with intellectual, developmental, and environmentally disabled. The ADA and DIDDS programs across the nation are pretty thorough. Yeah, and this is in Canada, where they also have really good programs. So you have to wonder what exactly is going on. How is this happening in the first place?
She is missing.
And none of those girls are, don't get those confused with the girl who said that she wanted to Oppenheimer a third world country on his stream. Remember the peanut supremacist? A pistachio supremacist.
Honestly, not really.
Okay, so there was the pistachio girl for the Philadelphia Phillies who was a crazy alt-writer who ended up becoming his podcast host, and he had to fire her because she was too edgy in 2019 YouTube. Or 2018 YouTube.
Dude, look at this. JF Gariepi, sterile exit and entry.
Now, during COVID, we all learned some habits that were necessary for the time period, even if maybe they were overreaching or extensive, overreaction maybe even. But we were doing it for our own safety. What you're about to see is the clinical version, level 2, sterilization. Once you hit level 3, you're being sterilized as if you're heading out of a nuclear facility. So this is level 2. Biological contamination.
During viral events. This is him cleaning his house.
Are you kidding?
This is from 3 years ago, but this is him wearing like...
Wait, is this guy like Chuck McGill?
Dude, he knows like how to like...
Dude, JF has to ground himself.
He's doing a walkthrough of how to like clean your stuff. He's wearing like a raincoat.
Oh my god!
He's showing how to sterilize your house.
He killed her, bro. Holy shit, dude.
The re-entry.
Allegedly. We do not know that for fact.
You use in your garbage bag.
Dispose of any paper towel you use in your garbage bag.
If your area is not ventilated, you may need to leave a door or window open to ensure that the alcohol vapors. You have completed your re-entry protection. Come back with it and the
good disinfectants for final wash of items: isopropyl alcohol, soap, water, and scrubbing.
Do you know he mentioned he might flee to Russia?
And use them later.
He's showing how to dispose of. Why does he say he might flee to Russia? What's going on there?
There's a clip I saw yesterday where he's like, "I could always run to Russia," but I don't know.
Do you have that clip anywhere?
Hey, there's me. Let me see.
Bro,
yeah,
the tender
JF.
loves of JF Gariepi. What is this video?
And this was his entry point into becoming a celeb. He has started.
just keep trashing. You say you control me and the universe and everything that's around. Like I'm some sort of puppet.
JF had a show with Andy, right? They had a show together. Was it Worski Live?
Yeah, that was the show. That's where JF was introduced to IBS.
That was the
where he
Bloodsport
met
show,
Medicare.
right?
He was the co-host of Worski Live before the incident, and then all of a sudden he got fired from that, and he started.
What does it take to get fired from a show for extreme alt-right. You must be really extreme.
Public space.
Optimal over 2 says bro thinks he's OJ Simpson. GNN, JF Garepi addressed the disappearance of his mentally handicapped girlfriend Mama JF and disclosed he is under federal investigation by the RCMP, which is the Canadian police. I've
To be
woken up
sure,
at the
this
feds
is
every
coming
morning.
from to be fair, this is coming from Gun News, so
Most trusted
I mean,
source.
that sounds a
Trusted
little too good
source.
to be true. But you can click on the article. The article's written for sure.
Something personal that I'm forced to talk about at this point. It's I've been wanting to keep it relatively calmer and less
Literal blood
public,
sports.
but
There's a lot of blood in
I've
this
been
sport.
forced by the various events because people have discovered about it, and so I might as well talk about it instead of letting rumors develop and all of the messy information that can stem from it. So yeah, it's the disappearance of Mama JF. Mama JF has been disappearing in the sense of not leaving any contact, not leaving information about.
He says she has been disappearing. But this is October 4th, 2023. She's been gone since June. This is the first the audience has heard from him about it. Now, mind you, despite the fact that she has been gone, he says she has been leaving. And we know later, or we come to find out later, that she, 3 days after she left, told him she never wanted to speak to him again.
Where she was, and I titled my episode "The Cost of Liberty" because I didn't want any of this. I'm just a family guy, and I've always been wanting to.
I'm just a family guy. I'm just a
family guy.
Provide and secure for
Happy
people
as a
around me.
murderous
But there is
husband.
one thing I
Hiding all her remains, burying her in the backyard.
When you get bored of this clip, play the timestamp.
cannot do in our society. I cannot stop you from doing crazy stuff. I cannot stop you from exposing yourself to risks when you.
Genevieve says it looks like an extreme case of gross negligence and a fabrication of an alibi. That is for dang sure of some nature. And I haven't been able to locate, if somebody knows where it is, if somebody knows the link, the video footage of Mama JF at the being dropped off at the gas station. Apparently it's in the Canadian news, but I haven't been able to find it. So if anybody can find the link on that, I'd be interested in seeing it. It seems like she was dropped somewhere. The cameras could see her. And then he says she doesn't want to speak to him 3 days later. But her phone and all of her electronics are turned off at that point, by the way. Now, does her family know where she is? We actually don't know. But we do know that the feds are still looking for her. So that would suggest that she has not returned to her parents' house. And he is being investigated and interrogated, apparently, from his own words, on a daily.
Say the words I want to all we often know Chinese. Because in the 1920s, but 2 days in the absence of any evidence of harm or that she's doing something evil to someone else, there's no reason to call the police. And in fact, we even had someone in the family.
Okay, she's missing. He's saying there's no reason to call the police. Come on.
Very much.
I make a living.
She's been missing since June. They say 48 hours. And the case is cold. But she's been missing since June.
Of YouTube streaming. I talk about race and other subjects like this.
Really?
Yep. Do you know David Duke?
David Duke? No, I do not.
Yeah. KKK, ever heard of the group?
Oh yeah, my state was run by the KKK for a while.
Nice.
Hey, Nick with the Oreo.
Nice. Do you remember the video where he's like, I am playing Fortnite and there is a Mexican family on the game?
I think I used that clip in this at some point. Yeah, dude, these Fortnite streams were baller, bro.
Bro, he's crazy. I heard Augie and Connor have Mama JF. I heard that too, actually. That's true. I heard that from behind the scenes. Augie messaged me and said, we have Mama JF.
If you need to bring them inside the home screen.
Why do we have a video of him cleaning his house? Talk about how to... He's wearing like a hazmat suit.
Because this is a man who knows how to actually sterilize
He's
and
Walter
clean.
Put on your breathing mask and check that the valves are functioning properly.
In a way, most people wouldn't be
able
able
to.
to.
At Duke was kicked out for inappropriate relations. Yeah, so he got kicked out because I think he was having a relationship with a grad student. PEI, RCMP put out calls.
Does the timeline have any consistencies?
June 17th, she's been missing.
Very
PEI
little,
spreads
actually.
around, by the way.
He
RCMP
doesn't
put out a call
report her
for
missing till
last time
September.
in June after receiving a call from someone they describe as a concerned citizen. The last known sighting of Elora Batouan was on June 17th in Borden Carlton, the village that's home to the PEI end of the Confederation Bridge linking the province to New Brunswick. She's 30 years old, she's 5'10" and weighs 140 pounds and has brown curly hair. She speaks both English and French. Gavin Moore says the investigation began this weekend. Okay, if she was low functioning or something, you'd think they would say that in the in the article, right?
But why is it a high priority file?
We make efforts to follow up with all known contacts of the individual, reach out and make sure that, well, they probably think she's dead. She's been missing for months. Usually if they say, what do they say if they're missing for more than 72 hours, it's probably over.
Yeah, and they found her 3 months later. I think one of the other things that are important here is, even though it's Canada,
wait.
is this
They did not find her. They did not find her yet, right? They didn't find her.
No, she's not been found to my knowledge.
Okay.
But one of the important things is, even though it's Canada, it's still very cold out. I don't know, how easy is it to be a homeless person in like French Canada?
It's not that cold right now. It's pretty warm.
Oh, I forgot. You're Canadian.
Yeah, it's not that bad right now. So she could survive outdoors if she needed to. But it is getting.
Wait, why don't you go look for her, asshole?
Yeah, true. What am I doing here? We need to go find her.
I'm so confused. What are you doing? Get a flashlight and go, asshole.
Go in the woods. Mama Jaya.
Yeah. Apparently, professionally trained in decontamination. He was a scientist. He worked on chimpanzee and monkey brains. He dissected animals to understand mobility and motor functions and neurology, which brings to question all kinds of motivations and actions when a scenario like this comes up.
Mama! Both Prince District, RCMP, and the Force's the major crime unit is investigating. When someone goes missing, it has deep and far-reaching impacts on the person and those that know them. Okay, to be clear, we have no idea what the situation is here. We don't know what JF did or didn't do.
I think he killed her.
I know you think that. I'm not gonna make any.
Dude, he posted body parts on his Twitter. I'm just kidding.
GNN exclusive.
Dude.
The state forcibly removed Garepi's guardianship and returned the mentally challenged girl to her parents. That's the story about the 19-year-old.
Is this the same girl or a different girl? Yeah, 2016.
That is kind of late. I think that was.
She's been brought to Texas against her will using an ex parte order obtained by her mother, and despite not being cut for communication from her parents, it stated through email she's currently worried for her safety and the safety of her pregnancy and her parent. Wait, pregnancy? She was pregnant.
I think that the whole pregnant thing. Wait, oh, this one was pregnant. I didn't know the girl was pregnant, so this might be a different.
Has stated through email that she's currently worried for her safety and the safety of her pregnancy at her parents' house.
Oh, this sounds like a second girl, because the other girl seemed like she was pretty into it, but she was.
This is a different person.
No live testimony under influence.
Yes, Genevieve.
The decision was taken.
I fear for that thought.
What the? Wait, there's a spawn of JF that lives?
There might be.
Dude, JF had a kid?
Ramsey
He's like
Paul
Tonka. He's a deadbeat dad.
Look. Bro, is it
Dude,
over?
GNN's on the case, bro. I mean, it's just beginning for everyone but JF.
Has anybody done an interview with JF? He's probably live right now.
Oh, I got another.
Is he live?
One up in views. Cool.
Is he live, dude?
Okay, we can't get in trouble.
Dude, Destiny's title is JF Murder's Wife.
Okay, we can't get in trouble. We're good. We're good.
You think we're fine?
Yeah, we're fine. We had enough disclaimers, right? We didn't title our stream JF Murder's Wife.
Dude,
we're good.
Okay, the Serfs potentially lost the worst debate of his life to a wife murdering, disabled, sexing Jeffrey Epstein benefactor. That's who the Serfs
Lance is
lost.
the dumbest debater in history.
He lost.
And I'm so happy that you just made that niche reference.
He lost.
Holy dude. JF has so much rich lore. I hope he killed him. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Paul Riverter, John Francois, Gary Epi, girlfriend, Mama JF missing. He did a full screen about this.
I don't wanna either, but anyway, here we go. Let's see what happens. Go to Reddit, folks. Lord, not the Reddit.
Not the Reddit.
All right, so this is on the Destiny forum. Why? I guess because this cat used to really debate Destiny back in the day, and I can kind of, somewhere off in the nethers of my brain, I kind of remember that a little bit. I've never been like a really big Destiny dude or whatever. But anyway, so this cat here, Henri.
All right, I got the post. I met Mama JF and knew her casually. Shortly after meeting her, I sensed she was trying to hide something. I started Googling her and I discovered her online persona. At the time of knowing her, she was living with JF and their daughter was pregnant with their daughter. Was living with JF and their daughter. Was pregnant with their second child. So they had kids. JF
That's
has
just
kids,
terrifying.
according to this Reddit post. So there was a second kid. This was summer 2022. Today she was just reported as a missing person. She has not been seen since June of 2023. A concerned citizen reported their concern for her, and that's when it was discovered she was missing since June. It is not known if it was JF that reported her or some other concerned citizen. He said the police don't need to be involved, so it probably wasn't him. I'm posting this here as it was in some of the threads on here that I found during my initial deep dive on her online persona. It seems people here seem to keep tabs on JF due to his past debates with Destiny, and I thought maybe someone here could find some kind of thread from online persona to where she may be in real life. There are.
Now, mind you, she did have an online persona. Wildly so. it seems. Posting offensive and extreme posts in extreme places. It's one of the ways she found and became obsessed with JF, as she mentions earlier in the video, where that's all she did, apparently, is watch JF. She lost her job. She lost her friends. She lost her family. And then she wrote a fanatical email offering a blowjob to JF, and that's how they met. Is this the case of a person unwittingly heading themselves into the mouth of a monster, trusting with all their will someone who had no positive intention for them, but rather to use them as some kind of tool, the likes of which we might never know the extent of? And was it entrapment, Genevieve? We can only hope that we can hear from her, although we have to wonder if that time has passed or not. So I hope that you would, with me, think positive thoughts. For the woman dropped at a gas station on June 17th and only reported missing last month. Think positive thoughts that she's somewhere safe and warm. And that nothing has happened to her.
Certain people that just want to know if she's okay. Top comment.
I just sent you the Mexican kids clip.
You sent me the Mexican kids clip?
Yep.
It's like, you cannot even do 6 jokes. Hello, people of the game.
Kind of infamous villain in the Destiny cinematic universe. GST has now responded and has done a live video addressing the event. It's incredibly suspicious the way he talks about it. He's very nonchalant, uncaring, and even laughs. Also, 3 days after her disappearance, he did a live where he talks about having to deep clean the whole house. So 3 days after her disappearance, that's when he did the live, talking about deep cleaning the whole house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that was in context of like...
Genevieve, there's your answer. 3 days after her actual disappearance, he deep cleans the entire house, replaces the walls, and does a number of major changes to the internal look of the home, including repainting. Oh, and most importantly, he says he sterilized everything.
She left and no one realized this for months. So he just, without question, went on a rant about how he started. But what did he do with the walls? I forgot the term.
He I redid all the upholstery. I completely sanitized the entire house. I redo the drywall. Like, it's dude,
yeah, he redid drywall.
He redid the whole. It wasn't just.
And he volunteered that information.
Those are probably the walls where her blood was.
Area of demographic. He's in French Canada. White nationalist, exceptionalist. You know, the toy box killer. Yeah, a lot of similarities, right? Control, manipulation, brain damage, or playing with people's brains.
Allegedly.
That's the first place I'm looking, dude.
JF took 3 days off from June 17th to 19th. Mama JF went missing on the 17th. On his return stream, JF says, and I quote, "I cleaned and sterilized the house." He goes on to allude that he did plaster and drywall construction work right after she vanishes. He then did a review stream of the Cube movie trilogy, and his first stream back had a thumbnail called False Declarations of Love. On his return stream, he's speaking of her in the past tense. What happened to the kids then? The kids are still with him then, right? Was she pregnant? No, she... Okay.
I think the kids are with a different wife.
Genevieve,
right?
he actually has a science background. He was working at Duke University as a scientist, doing studies on mobility and neurological transmission. He was doing surgery on the brains of monkeys to study neurological function. And he was later funded by the Jeffrey Epstein to start research on humans and on YouTube.
Mama JF and knew her casually. Shortly after meeting her, I sensed she was trying to hide something. I started Googling her and I discovered her online persona. At the time of knowing her, she was living with JF and their daughter and was pregnant with her second child. So there might be...
I've never seen a child in that house, but I haven't seen a ton of his streams.
I mean, this person might be
Maybe she's
lying. It's possible that the kids just didn't come on stream.
Ooh, has anyone seen the kids?
I mean, the kids will be reported missing as well, I assume.
But you're saying that she left and she didn't take her kids and nobody's asking about where they are? Maybe they're being cared for.
I mean, this
by
person
her
could be
parents.
lying. Has he ever talked about having kids?
What mother would leave her children, specifically a child that didn't belong to the father, and just take off and leave? It is very uncommon. And he's where now? At his house. And where are the children? We've never seen them. Do they live there? We don't know. As a matter of fact, he's very touchy about the subject. And when Lauren de la Garda asked him about the children, he became incredibly defensive. But I'll leave you to find that on her video.
This Redditor
I
could
don't
be
know.
lying. This could just be a
Well, I've
lie.
seen at least one person in the chat say so we should take it at absolute certainty.
Say he has kids. Yeah, we need to trust chat. The timeline I know so far, he dropped her off near the bridge to another province at a gas station that has cameras. That was her last known location. She had agreed to keep in contact with him. She communicated with him a bit for 2 days, and after 2 days she sent a message and told him she no longer wishes to be in contact. She then went dark. JF claims to have spoken to her parents as well as lawyers. I think I will confirm this fact, to see if they should alert anyone of her disappearance. According to him, both family and whoever else that he has spoken to said she left on her own accord and has expressed her desire to not be contacted. So she just left the kids? Doing a little
Do you think
searching on
it's
YouTube
possible
brought up
she
this
just killed
old
herself?
clip. It's possible. Pretty suspicious given the current...
There are a lot of open holes. Behaviors that don't seem correct, but then when we looked at the person's behavior in itself, there's a lot of questions. Open holes. Leave one space enough to fall so deep that you may not return. And I fear Mama JF may have fallen into one of those holes. Because what mother leaves without at least the child that doesn't even belong to the man she's married to? Was she really talking to no white guilt when she was making the accusations about a psychopath trying to kill her and chasing her around all the time?
Circumstances. She seems like she's accusing JF of trying to kill her over the course of 3 years while he's trying to cut off the audio. Okay, this is the no white guilt.
I'm gonna get this is no white guilt. Yeah, that's just slander. Yeah, that's not true.
Bro.
But a lot of people are gonna look into that and say that. But I know the context because I think I was like around there at the time.
I'm actually
But
a fan of JF in general. However, this is incredibly sus. I know him well enough to know that he's capable of things.
What?
That's what Tetris culture is saying.
Capable of what? Tetris culture? Why do you watch him if you think he'd murder his wife?
I knew her for about 5 or 6 months. She was kind of an odd duck and was very flagrant about her views and would often judge other women for not being homesteading / homeschooling / stay-at-home moms, even though she was not one either. She was generally kind of hard to get along with. She would assume anyone who held one view on the world held all the same views. For example, if you were homeschooled, you were anti-vax, homesteading.
Time out, Tom.
Genevieve says he put her out so that there would be evidence of a stage alibi, and he went back and got her and did what he wanted to her in hopes he would never get caught. That is a plausibility. It is a theory right now that is fairly popular, but we don't know. It's an allegation, and it is it's one of the many possibilities. He also said that she let him know that she didn't want to speak to him anymore. But we don't know that because we've never seen the texts, we don't know the calls, and really it's up to law enforcement. I'm sure they have whatever it is that is available. But we really can't know. Just like how I haven't been able to find that video footage of her at the gas station. That's hearsay, that's report. Although allegedly it is on some Canadian broadcast. There are many holes to the story, and all we can go on is the reports and edits of a couple gamer guys who happen to follow the white nationalists.
Is throwing it back, okay?
True.
That's why we watch him.
JF was too busy with the oiled up twerk off competition to notice that his wife left, and then he had to renovate because he got oil everywhere. But I felt for her. Like, I felt like he brainwashed her or something. She didn't seem to hold much in her head besides his weird ideas. Their online personas were a lot different than IRL. Like, JF claims this woman would want for nothing, would not have to work, could get anything they wanted. Their house looks like a drug house. Honestly, it's not something you would look at as a woman and be like, wow, that's my ticket to freedom. Their yard, super overgrown. Their garden they bragged about was a small raised bed that they did not tend to, and I don't think yielded much of anything.
They can't even grow. This guy's a eugenicist and he can't even grow in his backyard. What a failure, dude. The white race doesn't deserve him.
Dude, oh man. I want to know. Someone needs to do an interview with him. He needs to like go on Ralph's show and do an interview.
Wait, that's true, chat. They did grow at least one potato.
Genevieve says, any mad scientist would have documentation. Dark Vault is full of snuff footage, allegedly. Yeah, I can only imagine what somebody who is truly disturbed might have, as there are many serial killers who kept trophies. I'm reminded of one who hid the pictures of all of the men and women he took advantage of in the walls and in the floorboards of his home, and they were only discovered by the hundreds long after his death and imprisonment. But what it did do is connect him, this particular serial killer, to a number of crimes that he would have never been connected to otherwise. That said, it is very common for evil to keep a trophy in trade. Do we know if he's kept a trophy? We do not. Do we know if he's done something wrong? We do not. We can only speculate on the unknown and notify ourselves of the possible monster across the street from us, on a stream nearby.
Oh, and potentially two.
Yeah.
A few big old veggies.
Perception.
Wait, that's it. He's French. He's trying to make some fries. That's why he keeps corralling his potatoes.
True.
That's true.
When you say the words, I want to.
Dick Masterson is having him call in. Well, I'm hyped to see that.
When you claim your own liberty, you are on your own, and I cannot do anything.
This goes on for 36 minutes.
That's what everyone said when they heard that clip.
Yeah.
36 minutes.
That's what I. Can you even upload a 36-minute video to Twitter? I don't know
I
if you
can
do
upload
that.
every video you've ever released in like in order or whatever, and put them all together, and Twitter will support that file.
Why?
Because I want to steal your content, Tom.
True. Well, no, but like, why does Twitter let that happen?
What do you mean, dude? You can just post your whole video there, and you'll get 3 cents of ad revenue per hour.
Are you making money on Twitter?
Yeah, dude. I make enough to pay for my Twitter Blue, so I can keep making more money on Twitter.
Is that like $11 a month?
No, I make like 30, but that's like nothing.
Yo, you're breaded up.
Dude.
Genevieve says maybe what we're watching now is the trophy. He's gloating. Well, it is known that those who do commit atrocity like that will return to the crime scene and or stand around where it occurred because they think that no one knows and they want to gloat, yes. This is true historically, repeatedly, of a lot of the great killers of time. It's kind of scary to think about, to be frank. So if you're there at a crime scene, it's always best to look around you, take note of who's there, because you may be standing next to someone viewing their own work.
Everyone got their first paycheck, and they're like, yo, wow, $500 or $300, and then it was like, yeah, that was your last 6 months of revenue. You're getting back paid. Oh, even the guys who made $1,000, they made like nothing. That's not revenue.
Bro, goddamn, that's crazy.
But I mean, you're making enough to pay for Twitter Blue, so
you're making enough to fuel your up addiction.
The biggest issue I would note is that overall, the lack of empathy leads into the allowance of somebody who starts with eugenics, who attempts to marry a cognitively disabled person. So problematic that her parents have to get involved and bring the courts in, which allows this same person to be booted from the US, to lose their job at Duke University. They then go on to marry and have a child with somebody who clearly has cognitive issues and who is now officially missing. Only reported 4 months after they initially were dropped off at a gas station in a neighboring county, no less. Why would someone do this to their loved one? He says because she asked for it, because she wanted to go, and then she let him know she didn't want to speak to him again. But this occurred after her devices, he claims, were already off. Why is he being visited by federal agents every morning, waking him up? We can only wait to find out and hope for the best. But this is an example of the monsters who live in and around us, who may smile at us, who may entice us into a trap of our own making and sell us into a dream so that they might slowly devour their capture. These stories, they carry a mirror, a similarity from the monsters we know in the forests and the jungles, attacking GIs with stones and rocks, screaming and raising their fists, warning them to stay away, breaking them in two, and then they themselves being made into prey and taken and put on parade, used as an award for show. Well, like Bigfoot, the demons are often unseen. They carry with them incantation and magic. They are the line between here and there. They are the lessons and the fable. They are the things that remind us to keep in mind that the unknown, the metaphysical, the realms just outside of our actual, obvious eyesight, the corner of our eye viewing, per se, is always at hand. That the dark spirits, the monsters for real, may be sleeping next to us. This is a reminder that the power of the obelisk, a prison of the mind, is always at hand, and that it takes each and every one of us to reach out our hand and grasp those we love and pull them from the darkness. For fear of watching them fall into the other realms and dimensions of the unknown. For fear that the rock ape, the Sasquatch, the skinwalker will find them and convert them to either food or a matter of their own existence, never to return. Offer your hand and help when you see your loved ones fall. There is only us, we, the line between here and there. And I urge you, with every ounce of my being, to keep in mind There is only one solution, my friends. And I think you know what that is. Look up! Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate each and every one of you joining us.
And she said it was kind of hunched down, but it was trying to figure
For this series of tales about monsters, ghouls, ghosts, UFOs, the witches, warlocks, monsters from within, demons, angels. We'll keep it rocking. You've been watching the show known as Lookup, the remix. I'm AronMSound. I interject myself into conversations that people don't want me to be a part of, and by way of which, I extend them and take them places you don't expect them to go. I thank you so much for being here. Please do keep supporting. If you haven't already, hit the like button, and I'll see you tomorrow night, about the same time period. And I think tomorrow, what am I doing? Oh, Aleister Crowley or something like that. Well, show back up, because I've got lots to talk about and lots to scare you with. The stories keep coming. Do you know about the demons pulled from Earth? Do you know about blood sacrifice? Are you aware of the stories of Cabal? Do you know the fraternal organizations that live amongst you? You should know, but you probably don't. Well, my friends, the exceptional human experience starts with one thing. Look up.